Does everyone know Provident? Been around since 1860. Mental health counseling, suicide prevention, run the hotline, and programs for at-risk youth, after-school programs for at-risk youth. And I'll talk about that in a minute. You know, to kick this off, I looked for some development humor. And there's not a lot out there. I got to tell you, so let me try this one. So at the pearly gates, there's a doctor, there's a lawyer, and there's a director of development. And St. Peter said, welcome, you passed the test. Before you enter through the pearly gates, you each get one wish. The doctor says, well, I wish for $1 million. And St. Peter said, here it is, go on in. The lawyer looked at that and was amazed. He said, well, I'll take $1 billion. He said, here it is, walk right in. The development director didn't know what to do and said, so what is your wish? And he said, you know, if you could just give me the business cards of those first two people. Okay, I had another one, but so the development director finds the proverbial genie in the bottle and asks for $1 million for the agency. And the genie says, you've got it, go to your office tomorrow, it'll be there. The director of development opened the door of her office that next day, and 4 million binder clips hit her in the face. She said, my God, genie, what the hell is this? And the genie said, well, you didn't specify it couldn't be in kind. So there's a couple good ones out there. So Martin gave you 9 points, then he gave you 7. I'm going to keep mine simple, although you're going to see some very common themes. I'm going to give you 2 sets of 4. When I came to Provident, they really didn't have a development group. The legacy executive director that had served there for 20 years and did a wonderful job said, we're not doing typical fundraising, we're going to rely on the United Way grant, which Provident got the #2 grant for years and years and years and years within the United Way. We're going to rely on the Children's Service Fund out in St. Louis County, and we're going to apply for grants. So when I got there, and things had gone bad for 14 years, and literally so bad that we needed a new HVAC, we went 10 days without heat, we had this huge minimum funding obligation on a pension, which I'm sure some of your organizations have dealt with that. So much so that people were concerned that when they made contributions to us, it was help paying our old pension liability rather going for services. So my first point on getting this stuff going is get your house in order. If you can't go out and sell your organization because you believe in it, you're not going to be very effective. So the first things we did when I got there, and the board asked me after 6 months, why aren't you out doing development? I said, we're going to fix the house first. And we took care of all those things. We figured out a way to get rid of the pension obligation. We redid our building. You know, we had, as so many organizations do, not for profits, corporate too, when things are bad, you make short-term decisions rather than long-term decisions. So about half of our counselors were part-time people. So they were working 40 or more hours someone else and then giving us the hours they had left over that. And obviously that saved us in benefit costs, but they weren't Provident proud. They were really aligned with another organization. And we used that phrase a lot, Provident proud. And we had t-shirts that said Provident proud. If you work here, you're proud of your organization. But it was only after that could we really go sell our organization and get people fascinated with it. When I got there, most of our employees were talking about our 160-year history rather than what we were doing today. And we changed all that. Well, this one was so good. Point number 2, development is for professionals, so get one. I didn't really have one when I got there. And I'll give you a little plug. If you can't afford a full-time one, hire a consultant. We used Martin's wife, Ellen Howe. And she did a great job helping us get our house in order. And then we hired a development professional that's been around for a long time, Sherry Gerke, maybe if you know her. But look for those development professionals, and we all know how St. Louis is. It's contacts, contacts, contacts. Hire someone that's been in the St. Louis market for a long time. They might bring donors with them. So a guy that came from the corporate world, I was used to cutting checks rather than asking for checks. I really needed that help. And this point 3 really ties into what Martin said, and I can give you a great story. Your database is your lifeline. If you can afford software, I know we bought eTapestry. But it's set up so that you can memorialize each of those conversations you've had with a prospect. You can make it personal, as Martin said, and you can develop those relationships. So if someone leaves your organization, you still have a complete record of all the dialogue that happened with that person. You need to make it personal. And I'll give you a great story that came from that. So with the suicide prevention and running the hotline, we had a woman that gave us money. And we reached out to her and talked to her, got her story. Happened to be a labor attorney that beat me in a number of labor cases when I was a general counsel at Ameren. And we furthered our relationship. One day she said, you know, I've been thinking about a program I'd like to sponsor at your agency. I lost my son to suicide a few years ago when he was in college. I've actually taken this to another agency and talked to them for about a year, but they really weren't on it. They didn't really move with it. But what I want to do is set up a social media site so young people that are suffering through depression, suffering through issues, have a place to go to talk to other people that are feeling the same way. We got it up, we got it running. She said, I like this. We called it Feeling Kinda Blue. It's been up for 4 years now, and she has funded every dollar of that program. And after the first year it was up, it won the National Award from the American Association of Suicidology as the best new innovative program in the country. Pretty good story? It gets better. The month before I left, she told me, Steve, I want you to know that I just redid my will, and I gave $1 million bequest to your agency. Contacts matter. Relationships matter. Making it personal matters. Point 4, and it kind of ties into that, limit your asks. And this goes back to some of the things I experienced as a giver. If I just wrote you a check and the next week I get your circular mailing that goes out all the time asking me for money, I'm thinking, are they paying attention? Did they know they got my check? You know, every time when we started, when we had a funding need, our group would say, well, let's go to the board again. Well, the board gets worn out on that kind of stuff. And if you limit yourself to the same people you've been dealing with before, you're not developing new prospects. So limit the ask, make them meaningful, make them personal. There's nothing wrong with sending out quarterly notices of what your agency's been doing, but maybe before you mail them, take a look at who's written you a check in the last 2 months and take theirs out or put a personal note on it saying, just sending this for your information, but we want you to know we got your check and thank you. You don't want them to feel underappreciated or that you're not paying attention. So those are my 4 points that I learned, but I will also tell you on our gala, which was successful beyond anything we imagined. So my board, before we set up the gala, and we netted $200,000 the first year, they sent me to a year-long class at WashU about development. And other than my good friend and Martin at UMSL, who does an incredible job, we met about a 1 day a month for 12 months. It was a great class. Other executive directors. It was development for executive directors. 2 big lessons I learned out of that class. 1, fundraising is agency-wide. It's not for the development group. If your employees aren't giving you money, you got to worry about that. If they're not helping you in the fundraising, your counselors and your mental health professionals in my case, you got to wonder, do they really care? Are they really Provident proud? The second thing I learned in that class that I still hold dear is WashU is a development machine. It was unbelievable. So as we got started to plan our gala, I tried to feed into that. I had a bunch of board members that had WashU connections. And so the 4 points I'll tell you I learned from that class and made this gala so successful. But in St. Louis, corporate sponsorship is so necessary. And we had none when I got to Provident. Now I was certainly able to pull in Ameren and a few other companies. But as we got ready for this gala, we solicited the help of Bill Danforth from WashU, who sent out letters, personal letters, asking for people to be on our host committee. No one says no to Bill Danforth. By the end of the day, our host committee was the who's who of the St. Louis corporate world. And I'm still grateful to Bill for that. Second issue, honor somebody who can sell seats. It's amazing how important that is. Now, so our first gala, we honored Mark Wrighton and Risa Zorling. Mark is obviously the Chancellor of WashU. Risa is his wife on my board, social worker by occupation, but she has also taken on some big issues. She's been taking on the gun issue at WashU and leading the way. They were well deserved. You don't want put anyone as your honoree that's not deserving of it, but some people can sell seats, and with that communication and with the corporate leadership on board, we sold out very, very quickly. Point 3, if you can, show them a film, just like Martin did, and make it personal. I fought with some folks over this. They said, no, films are usually 3 minutes. I said, I want at least 12. We had 3 distinctive branches of our organization. We had to tell each of their story because I didn't know which one each individual was going to buy into. And people were weeping at the end of it. They knew what we had done. We had never had a gala before, so most of these people in that meeting at the gala didn't know who we were. They got the corporate tickets and they were there for the night. Tied into that, our after-school program for at-risk youth, there was a personal letter at every seat in an envelope for each person that was there that night from one of our students, thanking them for them being there. Again, make it personal. And the fourth thing is, make it real. We've all been there. Fund a need comes at the end of the night, right? Or the ask comes at the end of the night of the audience. Our first ask was for a new phone system. We were on the hotline. Our phone system had been installed in 1970. I think the technology has changed a little bit since then. And that alone raised over $80,000 on the fund in need as we went around the room. So make it real, help them understand what they're contributing to, but that all ties into making it personal again. So that's all I've got today. Thanks for your time.